It was daunting. It was a daunting task. And I feel like I would almost not want to do it because I felt like we were self-funded and asking people for money was scary. And I didn't have a plan. And it felt like throwing spaghetti against the wall, and I would just sort of do what everybody else was doing. So if there was, Giving Tuesday, we would ask for people to donate, but I would ask for the smallest amount. I remember asking for, I think it was $200, and that was a huge ask. And that wasn't like asking one person. I was asking a bunch of people to donate maybe $5, $10, $15, $20 to raise $200. And it was a success if we raised that money. And if we didn't, it was sort of like, okay, moving on. Because again, we were self-funded and I would just put my own money into the organization. And without having a plan and not really knowing what to do, it was just, whatever we rolled with it. But it was daunting is the word that comes to mind, because I had no clue what I was doing and I needed help and I didn't have anybody to help me. And I didn't have any, plan in place. There was no plan. So it was very chaotic and up and down and no focus, no direction. So the results were pretty much that. There was really no results.
I think I remember those times. I think I remember some of those times, and I get that, of things feeling daunting and feeling uncertain and unsure, and what should you be doing? I've felt that myself. So talk about what happened that you needed to change, because one of the things that I notice about people is we tend to go along with whatever we're doing until something happens, something changes, and we have to do it different. What was that for you?
Well, I think we've grown as an organization, and the more you become, more people that become aware of what you're doing, the more popular you get. And so we really grew from, a little organization that would do things here and there to, we started a farm sanctuary where we started taking animals in that required daily care, food, water, shelter, vet care, and the bills started piling up, things starting to get a lot more expensive. And, this organization is something that I see for the future. And in order for it to sustain, we really needed to get a plan in place that would support us for the future and allow us to continue to have our mission be present and be real, and that people would take us seriously and that we could be around for a while. So for me, it became real that I needed to do something and get a plan in place that we could nurture and grow and be sustainable for the future in order for us to continue to be around, because otherwise we were not going to be able to withstand and continue to do the mission if we didn't.
And if I recall, you were also working full-time, and you really, really wanted to be able to tell that employer goodbye and spend all your time in the organization that you created.
Absolutely. I mean, that always has been the dream, is to do it full time. And it did get to a point where felt like I was doing the work, working a job full time, and then doing the nonprofit work full time. And you really wear yourself out. And I really wanted to get to a place where I could actually leave and do the nonprofit, which is my heart, my passion, which is why I started it, and do that full time without having to worry about a 9-to-5 job that maybe I wasn't so passionate about.
I get that. So let's talk about last year, because I think what happened for you last fall not only was a real big deal in your journey of fundraising, but also played right into that that decision of, is it time for me to go full time in my nonprofit or not? So talk to us about that. What happened last fall?
Well, I started really doubling down and getting a plan in place. And it was really working with you, Sandy, and Get Fully Funded, which is really what drove Epic Outreach to really become fully funded. So in 2020 was the year that we really became fully funded, where I wasn't putting my own personal money into the nonprofit. It was more finding sustainability with donations and sponsorships and fundraisers for supporting the work and the mission. And, asking people for $200 seemed like a daunting task several years ago. And then last year I was challenged. I did a director's circle with Get Fully Funded, where I was in a group of other nonprofits like myself, and we all worked together and had monthly meetings and had a coach and worked with them, and they challenged me to up my ask, and I did a matching donation of $2,500 to raise $5,000. And I about fell off my chair when I was asked to do that, because that was a lot of money to raise. And we exceeded that. So by the end of the fundraising season in December, we had raised over $16,000 from August to the end of December. And it was only because I worked with Get Fully Funded and put a fundraising plan in place, and I showed up and did the work and, really busted butt in telling stories and asking sponsorships and doing fundraisers, doing a fall appeal, and doing things that I had never done before. And we far exceeded what I was originally going to do for fundraising.
I love this so much. So in past years, $200 was a big deal. Your peers sound like they almost shamed you into 2,500 as a match to go for a goal of 5,000. I'm sure that felt daunting.
It did. It was super, super scary. And at the end of the year in the season, they all looked at me and was like, when I shared, what we actually raised, and they were like, and you were afraid to raise 5,000 with a $2,500 match. And that was scary. That was scary for me to ask the donor for $2,500. And, on a side note, I just had a conversation with them today, and I just asked them to help us up our ante for this year. And I asked them if they'd be our $5,000 match. And they said yes.
Way to go. High five.
I know. And so I'm going to go for 10,000 this year. Like, what? Like, who am I? Like, I can't even believe that I'm going to do that. But I'm going to, because I feel confident, not because I'm confident and my ego's in the way, but I feel confident that I have the skills and the resources and the tools to do it. And we've been, at this for going on 2 years now, and we have a good donor base, and we've stayed in contact, and we're building relationships. And I think we can far exceed that, actually.
That is amazing. That's just amazing. So I do hope you celebrated that, of basically tripling what you thought was a stretch goal. I hope you celebrated that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sure.
So when you had that kind of big win, and I know there's going to be people listening to this who are going to say, wow, $5,000, that seems like so much money. For other people, maybe it's not, but we all have our own stretch point. When you have that kind of success, though, and you think 5,000 is a lot, and you raise triple that, how much more good does that let your nonprofit do?
Oh, it's a huge relief. You're not under the pressure for having to fundraise to support the mission. And you can go out there and actually work the mission and do the mission. And for us, that's outreach, that's education outreach. It's helping animals and people and, building kindness and compassion. And you can actually get out there and do the work and actually, engage people and plant those seeds and, allow your mission to come to life, rather than worrying about, how am I going to pay the vet bill? How am I going to pay the feed bill? How am I going to pay for, the lights to go on so that I can print things to, get that message and that mission out there? It's amazing. And it's exciting to be able to do that and to see that people want to support it. That's exciting for me. I love it when people get excited, and when you reach out to a donor and you ask them to be your matching donor, and without hesitation, they say yes. And I believe that they do that because they're as excited about the mission as you are, and you've stayed in contact and you share stories and pictures and you keep them engaged, and they want to be a part of it as much as you do. So that's that's what drives me, is to really empower other people to get behind the mission and be a part of it. They're a part of it when they donate. So
I love that. There's like 100 nuggets in what you just said, and it's all good stuff. Any one thing that you want to add, or anything else that you really want people to think about if they're where you were a couple of years ago and thinking, oh gosh, that's hard to ask for $200. What would you tell people?
to not be afraid and to just get out and do it, because if you don't take the steps, it'll never happen. And if you take the steps, you build your confidence and you get there. You'll eventually get there where you then feel confident enough to ask for $2,500 or $5,000. And sometimes I used to think it was my mission, and our mission is education outreach. And while we do have some farm animals and we do rescue, we don't do a ton of it. And I used to think nobody wants to support that, but they do. And it's all about how you present it and how you share about it. And people get behind your excitement. They get behind you telling them and sharing with them and pulling them into the mission so that they feel a part of it too. And, if I can do it, like people say this all the time and they're like, if I can do it, you can do it. But it's so true, because I am not a fundraiser. I was not born a fundraiser. I was sort of created a fundraiser by Get Fully Funded. And now I'm super jazzed about it. I love fundraising. I call myself a fundraiser now, and I love it. And it's not daunting anymore. And although there's times where it's scary, but without fear, you can't overcome anything. And so for me, I just take that fear and turn it into excitement. And I just get super excited. I love the fall. Like I can't wait for August to get over. I'm going to just leapfrog over August and get into September and October, because it's super fun to share about the mission and tell people about what we're doing and see them get excited and see them write a check and get behind the mission and feel like they're a part of creating what we're doing with our mission. And anybody can do that. Anybody can do that. If you're passionate about the mission, you just got to get out there and share about it. And $200 turns into 2,500 and then 5 or more. And so I don't care what your mission is, you can do it if you're passionate enough.